Have you ever heard the right wing talking about the Muslim education? That Muslim girls, Muslim boys should be given education. If at all there is only attack on madrasas, which is the only place where some education is imparted. On the contrary, they talk about taking away their business. They say that don't buy vegetables from them, don't do business with them, do economic boycott. So obviously, if you take away the business of that vegetable seller, so then be prepared for him to produce more children. Now, would you want him to practice family planning or not? If you do, so please improve the socio-economic factors. So this lack of understanding or deliberate mischief, whatever it is, has to be called out.
Muslims are the poorest, least educated community in the country. Service delivery to Muslim communities in rural India are short of appalling, and socioeconomic factors that determine fertility are often underplayed in these conversations about the population explosion of Muslims. For example, 46% of Muslim women do not complete their sixth standard in India. These questions of empowerment, access, marriage, socioeconomic development, so to speak, why have we still not managed to do that within the community?
It is true that the socio-economic factors are the factors which are responsible for family planning behavior. There are mainly three, and you mentioned two of them. The first is education and literacy. As the literacy goes up, birth rate comes down. Right. Across communities, mind you, I'm not talking Muslims, every community.
Right.
Secondly, the power, economic conditions. As the income goes up, number of children goes down. Right. Thirdly, as the service delivery improves, the children go down. And there are other factors because of all these things. The age of marriage is delayed, working population increases, and all that. And there is an interplay of factors. But let us take these three. There is a whole chapter on what are the socio-economic determinants of family planning behavior. And mainly these are the three. Then there is another chapter which examines where do Muslims stand in those socio-economic factors. And as you said, they are the least educated. They are the poorest. The service delivery among them is the least because doctors and health staff don't want to go to Muslim clusters and pocket, calling them mini Pakistan. Now, these are realities. It may sound harsh when you are hearing them, but that is the reality of the current situation. So, which we need to face. There is no Hindu birth rate or a Muslim birth rate. It is all based on socio-economic factors, and there are regional variations. There is a wide range. For instance, among the Muslims, it ranges from 1.74 to 4.11. 1.74 in Tamil Nadu, and across the country, then when you go to Bihar, 4.11. Similarly, Hindus in Sikkim, 1.13. But in Bihar, 3.29. Now, even birth rate of Hindus is the highest in Bihar. There are 22 states where Muslim birth rate is lower than of the Hindus in Bihar. Why? Because Bihar Hindus are also poor. There is a lot of lack of literacy. So it is the regional factors which we need to address. And socio-economic conditions of Bihar and UP and Madhya Pradesh, the so-called 4 Bimaru state. Bimaru doesn't mean they're sick, but it's an acronym given by Professor Ashish Bose once upon a time. Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and UP. Now these are 4 states which are responsible for high birth rate. And all communities have a high birth rate, and we need to address that.
The use of contraceptives is the lowest amongst the Muslim community in India. What are some of the causes or reasons that you see for this figure? And is that a cause for concern in terms of the findings that your book tries to argue?
The cause for concern is that, yes, every plan document from the beginning, every population policy, everyone had said that Muslims have the highest birth rate and they are a group who are resisting family planning.
Right.
But nobody has offered any solution. Nobody has even tried to solve the problem.
Right.
In fact, when I was writing my paper, I wrote, in all innocence, I wrote to the Government of India, Ministry of Family Welfare, Joint Secretary concerned, the key person. that you know that Muslims have least family planning, but what are you going to do about it? Have you been doing? So she wrote a letter to me, and which I have reproduced in the book, which may be politically very correct, but it says that we don't discriminate between communities, and our messages are to people in general.
Right.
And now, what may be a politically correct statement, to me as a communication person, is an ostrich-like approach. If you are addressing people, you are shooting in the dark. Now, there are segments of the audience and who have to be dealt with differently. For instance, young and old, men and women, urban, rural, rich and poor. Now they think differently, their needs are different. For instance, for illness, suppose you are addressing illiterate. Would you come up with glossy booklets and lovely posters? Absolutely. They can't read a word. So therefore it has to be target segment specific, to say that we have no target, no segment, and we treat everybody equally. Politically safe and correct, but scientifically wrong statement.
They often say that development is the best form of contraception. You've alluded to development in a socio-economic sense and how we need to target Muslim communities and recognize that they are underdeveloped, and that leads to issues with family planning and the use of contraception. Would you go so far to say that it may be in the interest of the same right wing that is furthering this conversation that Muslims are the population is exploding, they're having huge families, lack of contraception? Would it be in the same right wing interest to actually improve socioeconomic indicators of Muslim communities in the interest of reducing or controlling this population exclusion within Indian Muslim communities?
Yes, absolutely. And that's what I've said. That instead of addressing the socioeconomic factors which determine the family fertility behavior. Now, have you ever heard the right wing talking about the Muslim education? That Muslim girls, Muslim boys should be given education. If at all there is only attack on madrasas, which is the only place where some education is imparted. Now, how about opening more schools in the Muslim area? They don't talk about it. How about increasing the income of the Muslim? They don't talk about it. On the contrary, they talk about taking away their business. They say that don't buy vegetables from them, don't do business with them, do economic boycott. And I've quoted, with citation, who has said what and at what time. So they are saying it regularly. So obviously, if you take away the business of that vegetable seller, so then be prepared for him to produce more children. Right. Now, would you want him to practice family planning or not? If you do, so please improve the socio-economic factors. So this lack of understanding or deliberate mischief, whatever it is, has to be called out.
How can we take this conversation ahead in terms of family planning and making it a Hindu and Muslim problem and not necessarily something antagonistic?
You put it well, very well, Chirag, I must say. Now, it was a part of the myth that Muslims are producing too many children to overtake the Hindu population, and they're doing it by having 4 wives so that they produce too many children, which is why the slogan which has been used by top leaders of the country, mind you, not the riffraff, but top leaders, hum 5 hamare 25, hum 4 hamare 40, which means I have 4 wives and 20 children or 40 children. There is one study, the only study ever done, and that was done by Government of India in 1974-75 on the status of women in India. There was a committee formed. They came out with this report, which was published with the title Toward Equality.
Right.
And it reported that all communities in India had polygamy, some extent of polygamy.
Right.
In fact, the tribals were the highest with 15% and above. Then the Buddhists, then the Jains, then Hindus, and the Muslims were the least. Hindus were 5.8, Muslims were 5.7. So what did it imply, and what was the implication for population growth? Now, right. I've mentioned this in the book, that if somebody takes himself a second wife, which means that correspondingly a young man will stay a bachelor, right? Now, what is the impact of this kind of phenomenon? That the population growth actually comes down. Studies have shown that if the only wife of a husband produces 5 children, from the second wife it comes down to 1.7. Now, suppose these 2 women had gone to 2 different men. 5 here and 5 there, they would have produced 10 children.
Hmm.
Now, since one woman has gone as a polygamous person, now first wife gave birth to 5 children, the second gave to 1.7. So actually, from 10 it came down to 6.7.
Right.
So and those are studies available which I've quoted and cited.
Right.
That whatever little polygamy there is, it doesn't lead to population explosion. So obviously it is a false propaganda, false narrative, deliberately being spread to create fear among the Muslims and create hate. Now
Right.
the hate, creation of hatred is meant for polarization. Now, polarization is a strategy which has proved to be electorally very successful. So, this is just to create hate. For instance, the myth is that Muslims are responsible for population explosion. So, you will just keep on bashing Muslims and forget that all others may be contributing it to also. Right? For instance, yes, Muslims have the highest birth rate, but who has the second highest birth rate? The Hindus.
Right.
So, and if we don't talk about that, we will not be achieving what we want to do. We will be far from achieving our family planning goals. So it was therefore important that the myths should be dispelled, the real situation should be understood, and so that we come up with the right solutions to do family planning. There is no doubt that family planning is a great idea. Everybody in India, everybody everywhere should do it in their own interest, in the interest of the community, in the interest of the country. And that is the lesson which I have tried to draw in the book.